Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Um, Welcome back to you. It's been a little while since we've seen you on. How have you been?
Uh, I don't know. Kind
So,
of wanting to not be.
that's fair. That's fair. Um, so I'll just start off by stating the obvious: is I am a dirty, filthy liar. I said this episode would be out 2 weeks after the last one. I fooled you all. You've all been tricked. This was a prank. No,
Sure.
we are we're running 1 week behind because of real life stuff. Put us a week behind. So next episode is still on track for coming out 2 weeks from when this one was released. So that's fortunate. We'll talk more about that at the end. Um, Aside from that, this episode is probably going to be a little bit more kind of mellow, a little bit more low energy, both a little bit tired. Um, but without further ado, let's jump into it. Leslie, what did we watch this week?
We watched Beastars.
Which is a Netflix exclusive.
Yes, it is.
So, if you don't have Netflix, uh, you unfortunately probably won't be able to watch this.
Well,
Well, legally.
legally.
um. So yeah, I mean, I will say we're spoiler alert. As always, we're gonna spoil stuff. I uh, This was our first watch of it. We've had plenty of time to ruminate on it, but I think you would probably benefit going into this. Going into it blind.
Yeah.
I think it's you can still get a lot out of it on a second watch or watching it already knowing what happens, but um, it's an interesting roller coaster, and I think
It also has no business being that good.
yeah, that's the other thing too. It's a Netflix exclusive. It's fully CGI, and it's basically just furry bait. So it has no reason to be as good as it actually was. I'll just say that much. Um, we both thoroughly enjoyed it, but moving past that, let's jump into it a little bit. So, who were the characters that we need to know about? We'll go back and forth if you want to start us out.
I forgot I have to talk during this. I don't want to.
Well,
I mean, you've got Lugoshi. He's the main character. He's a wolf. A very big wolf.
yeah, he's a gray wolf.
Even by gray wolf standards, he's pretty big. He's taller than all of his classmates, except for the the ostrich and the giraffe. He's very kind and respectful. Um, he's got a lot of his own mental demons. He's in the art, the stage department, kind of like the props and lighting and
Crew.
stuff.
He was in crew.
Yeah, and crew, for the drama club. And he kind of doesn't he doesn't seem to like the fact that he is a carnivore.
Yeah.
He wants he wants to be perceived as like a safe person to be around. It seems like he wants to just not be scary.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So,
I'll apologize. I'm enjoying my delicious medium fry from Wendy's. Sponsor us, Wendy's. So, yeah, I think that's That's a good summary of him. Our next important character is going to be Haru. Haru is a bunny. She is specifically a...
A dwarf.
She was a dwarf rabbit.
Dwarf rabbit.
Okay. Yeah. So she's kind of the bottom of the food chain.
She's so little.
In almost all respects.
The chipmunks and mice are smaller than her, but
yeah.
She's so tiny.
Yeah. So she's very strong-willed despite being, a prey and a very weak prey at that.
Well, I had a pet dwarf rabbit growing up. They are very stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
They are very stubborn, and they know what they want. So that was true to dwarf rabbit psychology, I suppose.
Fair enough. She is very sexually active.
Yeah.
She's shamed. She's slut shamed at school. She's very sort of infamous among the herbivore community at school for being,
promiscuous.
Promiscuous, yes, thank you. And she's always had to struggle in life because she's weak, even by prey animal standards. So, she's very interesting. We'll get more into her whole deal once we start going through the episodes. But moving on.
We have Lewis. Lewis is a deer. He is the head of the drama club. He's kind of like the polar opposite of Legoshi, in the sense that he's very aggressive and doesn't like the fact that he's an herbivore.
Yeah.
Kind of. Not quite that, but like he's more like got this mindset that like he's more ruthless than any predator could ever be, kind of sort of thing.
Well, I think we could debate that. I think what it more comes down to with him is that he views strength as being like the ultimate test of, I guess, the ultimate factor in, one's value, sort of. So he, goes out of his way to be as strong as he can, emotionally and, mentally and physically in a way. And he's very much obsessed with predators and specifically Legoshi, because of Legoshi's, Legoshi has all of this strength, but sort of rejects it, which is very much the opposite of how Lewis is. And also, just one more note about Lewis before you continue. I mentioned this was a Netflix original.
Yes.
Can we talk about the fact that Netflix, in their own subtitles for the
entirety
for the Japanese, which is the original language the show was recorded in, got Lewis's name wrong the whole time, and not even just in the subtitles, in the episode descriptions as well. They typed his name with an R instead of an L. Holy shit, Netflix.
Yeah. Get your shit together, man.
It's so sad because this is like one of the few like really good kind of like Netflix original animes that's come out.
Mm-hmm.
And they fucked it so hard by getting one of the most important characters' name wrong in the most racist possible way that they could have. So I had to get that out of the way. I wrote down his name as Ruis for the first like 3 episodes until I was corrected and good. No, I just looked it up. His name is Lewis, and I'm like, oh shit.
Welp.
Oh well.
Yeah, because I get on this weird thing when I watch anime. It's very recent, but I have to know the voice actors. I don't know why.
It's a huge pain in the ass because we're trying to watch the episode, and then she's sitting there on her phone, and it's like, oh hey, did you know this is this? And I'm like, I literally don't care. I'm trying to take notes.
Rude.
Going on. We never finished Lewis.
Did we not?
No. You got like almost done.
I guess. I mean, he's trying to be the next Beastar, which is like, I'm not entirely clear on what it is.
They didn't
it's kind
make
of
it
like
super clear.
It's kind of like, I don't know, spokesperson, but they don't really like. It's kind of one of those like, it's just how it is here things.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly.
It kind of seemed to me like it was hard for me to figure out whether it was a like school thing or like a society thing.
Yeah.
Or some like blend of the two.
Yeah.
But it very much was like somebody striving to be a figure, like a public figure, almost like student body president in a way, but like
bigger,
like more important. And it was like a big deal that it be, Lewis as an herbivore that became that. We find later that there's another character that gets introduced that's striving for the same thing. So I guess like,
well, she's next on the list.
yeah,
So.
I guess what's interesting is that because they're both competing, they're not in the same grade. So it must be like, if it is a school thing, it must be like a whole school thing.
Yeah.
And it's also, they don't explain how long you hold the title for. You don't explain what you have to do, what benefits it has. It's almost like this like weird MacGuffin that's only brought up like 3 times.
But it's also the namesake of the whole fucking show.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
it's very odd.
Hopefully they'll explain it more in season 2. Yeah. I don't know.
We'll see. And then the only other thing about Lewis is he has a very dark, shady past, which we can talk about later. Next up, we have Juno. Juno is introduced somewhat late into the show. What, about halfway?
A little over halfway, I think.
I mean, it's a short season.
Yeah,
it's only 13 episodes. Is it 13 or 12?
12.
It's only 12 episodes.
I know. So,
yeah, I think she's introduced about halfway through. She is a female gray wolf. So, same species as Legoshi. She's a freshman, so she just transferred in. She joins the drama club as an actor. She's very confident and strong. She's driven. She's determined, and you find out this is kind of her main driving motivation as a character, is she's determined to beat Lewis and become Beastar instead of him. And she's also determined to beat Haru and win over Legoshi's affection in like a romantic rivalry. So next up.
Next we have Bill, who's a tiger.
He is a tiger.
He's another actor in the drama club. He's very confident and happy with being a strong carnivore, and he's kind of the representative of the macho man in this. He's very happy with what he's been given.
He's, the jock.
Yeah.
In the drama club.
It's fine. It's fine.
And lastly, the last of the like really important characters is Jack. I was sort of on the fence about whether to include him.
He's a good boy.
He is an important character in a lot of ways. Jack is a golden retriever, so a canine. He is one of Legoshi's roommates and seemingly his best friend.
They've known each other. They grew up together. They were childhood best friends.
Yeah. Um, he's extremely loyal. He's very honorable and respectable, and he often plays the voice of reason when Legoshi is experiencing a lot of self doubt. Um, all in all, he's just like he's a legit solid friend.
Yeah, well, he's exactly what you'd
He's
expect
exactly
from a golden
what you'd
retriever.
expect. They did a good job giving the characters traits that are commonly associated with their species, for the most part. All right. So those are the main actors that we really need to know about. Let's
It's worth it to point out that Legoshi does have another roommate who's a hyena, I believe, but he doesn't play much of a role. He's
yeah,
just
something like that.
he does have a second roommate. There are 3 of them in the room.
Okay.
I have acquired the hiccups.
Oh my god. This is why we can't have nice things.
I don't like this.
Oh god. All right. Well,
My body is a prison.
I will read.
Release me from this mortal curse.
Oh my god. I will read the first episode summary, and then we'll just switch off, just jump right into it. So, in episode 1, we're introduced to a world where carnivores and herbivores coexist peacefully. However, the seeds of fear and mistrust are sown when an unknown carnivore kills and eats an herbivore classmate. We meet our protagonist, a wolf named Legoshi, who is part of the drama club and a close friend to the deceased student. Dissent begins to create fear amongst the club members until we learn that Legoshi is a kind and gentle soul. However, later on, pardon me, later on one evening, while Legoshi is helping his club members get more practice after hours, he awakens to his own suppressed predatory instincts and attacks a small bunny, Haru, who has her own issues at school.
Episode 2. Legoshi can't get the memories of his fuck-up out of his head despite being interrupted before he gave in to the urge to follow through with his attack of Haru. We learn more about his insecurities with his own strength, and we begin to see the drama club president, a deer named Lewis, showing signs of jealousy regarding Legoshi's natural predatory strength. Legoshi then has a second run-in with Haru, where she mistakes his intentions and tries to seduce him, but he panics and declines before running off.
Episode 3. We learn that Haru is slut-shamed at school for sleeping around with a lot of the herbivores. Meanwhile, Lewis struggles with his own limitations, both as a prey animal, as well as with a leg injury he sustained a few days prior. He and Legoshi have a discussion about strength and what it means to be strong, and how that can change from animal to animal. Legoshi can't stop thinking about Haru and begins to develop feelings for her, following their second encounter. The episode ends with the drama club succeeding in putting on their play despite Lewis's injury, but as soon as the curtain drops, he collapses.
Episode 4. Lewis wakes up in the nurse's office and is told he's too injured to perform the following night. He asks Bill, a tiger in the club, to fill in for him. Bill agrees emphatically, and as a result, Legoshi is forced to play one of the villains that had been played by Bill. During practice, Bill pressures Legoshi into utilizing his full strength. However, things take a turn when, right before the performance, Legoshi discovers that Bill has been doping with rabbit blood. Legoshi confronts Bill, only to be dismissed. Later on stage, Legoshi has had enough of Bill's attitude and attacks him for real. Bill fights back and shows how much stronger a tiger is than a wolf. Fortunately, Lewis shows up just in time to save Legoshi and the play, acting like it was all part of the performance.
Episode 5. In the aftermath of the play fiasco, Lewis works to make it all seem like part of the act. Meanwhile, Legoshi's roommate, a golden retriever named Jack, talks about the play with Legoshi, and soon correctly suspects that Legoshi is in love. Later on, Legoshi encounters Haru again, and the two get a bite to eat together. But things seem to be falling apart between the two before they can even begin. However, Legoshi recovers a bit as he walks Haru back to her dorm building, and the two seem to finally make a connection.
Episode 6. A murder story on the news puts the school on edge. The news results in only the carnivores from the drama club being sent to City Hall for an errand. However, while out, they accidentally stumble on the black market where carnivores buy meat to satiate their cravings in society. Legoshi gets separated from the others and is taken captive by a panda who runs the market, tries to treat carnivores who have attacked herbivores, tells Legoshi to end things with Haru before he attacks her, and allows him to leave. Legoshi finally meets back up with one of the other club members at the train station who also resisted the urge to eat meat, which gives him hope that it's possible.
Episode 7. Haru reflects on her history with Lewis as the two share a moment together. However, Legoshi interrupts it and Lewis distracts him enough to keep their secret. Later, Legoshi's roommate confronts him about the rabbit porn magazine that he received from the panda.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you kind of forgot that
Whoops.
part. As Legoshi is... While Legoshi is with the panda in episode 6, he tells the panda that he's got, like, actual feelings for Haru, and the panda's like, we'll take this.
And he's like, well, I don't want this. What the fuck?
Yeah, and he gets all embarrassed, and it's like... But yeah, he has...
Basically, the gist of it is he's like, if you can beat off to this, then you're just weird.
Yeah,
otherwise...
You just have a strange sexual alignment.
Yeah. He's like, otherwise, you just want to eat her, and you're just stupid. Yeah. So yeah, that's... He brings it home, and so Jack confronts him about the rabbit porn magazine, and Legoshi talks himself out of his feelings for Haru. However, while setting up for the festival, he figures out what's going on between Lewis and Haru and begins to boil over with jealousy.
Episode 8, Legoshi works up the nerve to ask Haru to walk back to school together after helping with festival setup for the day. However, things take an awkward turn on the way back, and they have to hide from the authorities together. Following this, the two seem to be finally getting along until Haru talks about the time she was attacked by him without realizing at the time who it was. Later, Lewis and Juno have a confrontation where she declares that she will be the best Beastar and will have Legoshi's heart. Lewis takes this surprisingly well, but warns her she won't have Legoshi. Then, during festival setup again, Juno sees what Lewis meant when she sees Legoshi and Haru together.
Episode 9. Lewis recalls his history being raised as meat for the black market. Elsewhere, Legoshi uncovers a plot by a group of carnivores to take Lewis down and vows to thwart it, even going so far as to throw away his own feelings toward Haru. He tries to confess to her so he can get rejected, but she's kidnapped and kidnapped to be used as food by a lion mafia immediately after. Lewis is blackmailed by the mayor into keeping quiet, but when Legoshi tries to get his help saving Haru, Lewis brushes it off to protect his own reputation, and the two fight.
Episode 10, Legoshi works to track Haru down. He eventually bumps into Panda, who joins him in his quest to save Haru. Panda isn't actually his name.
His name isn't Panda. He said it once.
Yeah, it's not Panda though.
Because Legoshi literally was like, "Hey, Panda." He's like, "It's not my name. This is my name." And he's like, "All right, cool. Come on, Panda."
Anyway, he eventually bumps into the panda, who joins him in his quest to save Haru. The two infiltrate the mafia compound and fight their way to the top floor where Haru is being held. Meanwhile, she recalls the events in life that led her to that moment and realizes that she really cares for Legoshi. Just then, Legoshi bursts in and confronts the mafia leader to protect her.
Episode 11. Legoshi unleashes his predatory instincts and beats the lion in a fight, saving Haru. However, it's Lewis, who shows up right after, who finishes the lion off before being confronted by the other mafia members. Later, Haru and Legoshi rent a room at a brothel to spend the night. Things begin to get frisky before Legoshi confesses that he was the one who attacked her before. However, Haru had already suspected this and forgave him. The two start to get intimate, but suddenly Haru tries to jump into Legoshi's mouth. That she does.
Episode 12.
It's a weird fucking scene.
It is super weird. Legoshi and Haru spend the rest of the night in the hotel without doing anything. They return to school and Haru accidentally bumps into Juno, who had been visiting Legoshi at the nurse's office. The two have a spat and Juno declares that Legoshi will be hers. At the Meteor Festival, Juno publicly interrupts Legoshi and Haru trying to confess their feelings to one another in one final act to steal Legoshi's heart. However, he rejects her and chases after Haru, vowing to get stronger to protect her, and finally properly confessing his love to her. The season ends with a reminder that the killer is still hiding somewhere in the school and promise of a second season.
That it does. That it does indeed. So, Leslie, how did you feel about the show? I mean, we alluded to it earlier, but let's talk more specifically. What did you think of, let's just start with the plot. What did you think of the plot?
I thought it was interesting. A lot of people have made the comparison to Zootopia.
Myself included.
Yeah, which I can agree, but Zootopia very much does kind of fall back on, like, just the racial divide.
The racial
premise.
metaphor, kind of.
Yeah. And that's not really what's done in this. It's like, it's very much its own established world with its own established premises that
it doesn't
parallel sort of to some things that we know today. To me, more what I noticed it as was the carnivores and herbivores represent, like, the non-existent but socially perceived gender binary. Like, men are the carnivores, women are the herbivores, but, like, that's as far as you can go with that metaphor, because it's not that either.
Yeah, that's what I was...
It's like that's where they might have gotten the idea from that, but that got completely, like, scrapped, like, before they got to the final stages of creating the show. They might have gotten some of the basic ideas from it.
I think that because you and I talked about that interpretation, and I continue to watch the show with that in mind. I think, if I'm being completely frank, I think a lot of that is you projecting meaning onto it, because we're trying to find a meaning in this. We see the divide between the predators and the prey, the carnivores and the herbivores, as, like, it can't be arbitrary. Like, it has to symbolize something.
Yeah.
And
I know it's just, like, my human brain looking for patterns and things. I understand that. I'm not saying, like, that's why I said it's not actually, like, the gender divide.
Yeah.
It's definitely, like...
But I don't think that was ever their intention with it.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. But it doesn't matter, because that's not how it comes across really in the show either. There's a couple of moments when parallels can be drawn.
Yeah.
But as a whole, it's really just its own system.
Yeah. I made that note that I basically said, I was just really happy that this didn't do the thing Zootopia did. And I don't want to bash Zootopia. I enjoyed that movie, genuinely.
I think despite having fallen back on that, like, racial, like, metaphor, it still did pretty good. It wasn't like
I don't want to get too much into it, but
no.
But I was gonna say, I enjoyed Zootopia, but I was glad that it didn't do that, because I feel like that's kind of I feel like it's a tired trope, and also a really kind of, like, if you look at it a certain way, kind of a problematic sort of trope.
Yeah, definitely.
It very much just kind of came across as, like, it was a society comprised of predators, predators and prey trying to coexist.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was like, and those divides, that segregation, I guess.
Yeah.
Was because they were predators and prey.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be anything more than that. And I think there are moments where specific characters represent certain things, and the relationships they have to other characters can represent certain things. But I think you have to take those as they are, on a case-by-case basis. I don't think you can look at it and broadly say, this group is symbolic of X and this
Right.
group is symbolic of Y. Neither of them are symbolic of anything.
Right.
It's that predators are meant to be predators and prey are meant to be prey, and that's what it is. And I loved that.
It's like the world got zapped with an anthropomorphized beam.
It got zapped with a furry beam.
Well, okay.
I almost just said fapped.
Yes, you did.
Oh, God.
Are you okay?
No.
Do you want to take that back and forth again?
You know what? At this point, I almost want to keep it in. I think I'm just going to keep it. Fuck it.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just address the I'll address the fursuit in the room, okay?
Oh my God.
This show is furry bait.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem if you're a furry. That's fine. I'm not.
I'm not
I think
either.
this show has gotten, like... It's weird, because I've seen a lot of people, like, praising it, but also still joking around that it's a furry show.
Yeah.
But it's like...
I know.
I'm still... The jury's still out for me as to whether or not it's a furry show.
I don't know.
I still don't know.
I have friends who are furries, and I don't know if they've even watched it or not.
I don't know. It's so weird.
So.
It's kind of like... what it reminds me of, honestly, is it reminds me of... Dragon Pilot, which was that... Was that... It was a Netflix exclusive, I think, also. And that was like vor bait. And I know people who are in that community that they're just kind of like, yeah, it was a tease. It was just to get us in the door. I'm just like, rip. So I don't know. I don't know of any... I don't have any friends that are furries that I know that have watched this. So I don't know if it was like satisfying. Like if it was what they wanted to see from a show like this. I have no idea. So, but I just did want to say that yes, okay.
It's anthropomorphized animals.
It's anthropomorphized animals. It is really easy to make the whole it's a furry show joke. I'm sorry, it's a really good show. Okay?
Coming from two people who are not furries. It's...
Although now we're going to be called furries because we liked it, but
whatever.
That's fine. Whatever. I've been called worse things on the internet.
True.
But yes, so that's out of the way. It's really good in spite of that. If you're not watching it because you're like, oh, it's a furry show. It's not a furry show. Okay?
Yeah, no.
It's a good show, and it just happens to be anthropomorphized animals.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I didn't...
You got real angry there for a second.
I just...
It's a good show!
It's a good show. Fuck you, I'm not a furry.
Idiot.
Oh, God. Sorry.
Idiot.
I just... Yes, but yes, it very much is just, like, it got zapped by, like, an anthropomorphic animal beam and became a world about that.
Yeah.
They actually did a really... From the limited bits of, like, world building that we did get to see,
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, nobody eats meat legally.
Nobody legally... Yeah, exactly.
Eating meat is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a... we learn later on that there's, like, a district in the town that has, like, a meat market that's, like...
Yeah, it's the black market.
Undercover.
And it's just...
It's just meat.
Yeah.
For carnivores who want to satiate their urges.
Yeah, and it's, the panda runs it.
Yeah.
And he basically, like, talking about, like, you know, we source all the meat from, like, cadavers and stuff like that. He's like,
yeah.
No, we don't kill anybody for it. But then there's apparently the group that Lewis was raised by that was being farmed for meat.
Yeah.
So these are two different...
I don't think that was part of the black market, though, was it?
They were talking about...
Because I thought that was, like...
I think they did make allusions to it being a black market, but black market is such a vague... It's such a broad term. You know, there's no such thing as a market, you know, where there's a sign hanging above it that says black market, and you can go in and, like... It's like that... I think it was like a Simpsons or Family Guy bit where they walk into the black market and there's somebody like got 2 hand grenades and they're like weighing them and like shaking it and listening to it. It's like that's not a thing. So it's kind of like, is it possible that it was like a different black market? Yeah, but still called the black market, because like that just kind of means any market in which you're exchanging goods that are illegal. Um, so yeah. There's that whole black market, but it's interesting because there are also laws. There are also like other laws to like create more peace between the the groups, the 2 groups.
Yeah.
Isn't one of them that it's illegal for a predator to bare their fangs at a prey animal in public?
Yes.
And there's like other stuff like that, so it's interesting, that the bits of world building that we got to see, that I was pretty impressed with them. I haven't really sat down to really scrutinize and go, how well would these laws make sense? But it gave us enough that I was like, wow, they really kind of thought about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But not so much that I was able to sit down and like, write up like a law book.
Right.
And be like, how do these make sense? If I was a lawyer, could I fight this? Like, that's, So it, but I mean, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
As far as I could tell with that whole world building thing. While we're at it, we might as well just talk about the setting.
Yeah.
It was just a modern world inhabited by anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah. Cell phones.
Yeah. Cell phones and
streets. Cars?
Trains.
Cars. Yes.
Cars.
There were cars.
There were cars?
Think so.
They were
bus. All in high school.
There was a bus.
Yeah.
That was blocking the market.
Yeah. They were all in high school, so they wouldn't be driving.
There were cars in the world.
Yes.
You can get a flying license if you're a bird, but you can only get it once you're out of high school. You have to be a certain age. I remember there was an
You have to graduate.
Yes, his friend was an eagle.
Yeah.
And was like, "Oh, dang, I wish I had my flying license." And it's like,
Cute.
So that's a thing. Let's talk the tone. The show was a drama.
Yes.
I mean, do you want to get more specific than that? I don't
really know what is more specific than that.
Yeah, I mean, drama is a pretty broad term, but it's like, was it, I guess you could say it was a character drama?
Yeah.
Because most of the drama came from the characters.
Yeah.
It had it's hard because it's also like parts of it were like murder mystery kind of, like
sort of.
It was like a whodunit, like, oh, but the butler did it, but like they never actually, spoiler alert, they never fucking solve the murder.
Yeah.
They never figure out who killed Tem.
Yeah.
So like to call it a murder mystery is kind of like maybe in season 2. Like,
yeah, right.
It's weird because it's like they didn't ever actually like it pushed the plot, but it didn't get resolved. It kind of just like led into other plots, like subplots coming up.
Yeah.
That then kind of were the main focus of the show. So yeah, I guess character drama.
Yeah, I think so.
I wrote down that it was pretty pessimistic. What do you think about that? I might have taken that note early on, but do you agree with that? I think if I had to say overall, I'd say it did lean more towards pessimism.
Yeah. I feel like it was more just realistic. You know?
Well, you know what I always say,
Stop. Stop. I don't want you to say it. I don't want you to say it.
If you're a pessimist, you're always either right or pleasantly surprised. But it also was kind of like it had these glimmers of hope among all of the harsh, like, quote unquote reality.
Mm.
You know, so I guess that's kind of like a mix of what you and I were saying, where it's like it's pessimistic, but like it's also realistic.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not idealistic.
no,
At all. It's
By
not
any
like
stretch, it's not idealistic. Uh, you know, there are problems, and it shows how many predators go and actually go to the black market to eat meat, just
Yeah.
so that they can coexist peacefully with their friends and neighbors. You know, and it's like, I don't know, it's dark, but then you've got the whole thing with the panda, and he's like, oh, it's not super common
yeah.
for that predators to actually attack other, like, and kill prey. Like, that's why we have the black market. That's why I run it, to like prevent that.
It's
from
all
happening.
ethically sourced and
Yeah.
nobody actually gets hurt.
It's all non-GMO, like,
Yeah, right.
farm raised. But
It's specifically not farm raised.
that's what makes it so ethical.
Exactly.
But yeah, so it's a really yeah. I mean, it's a kind of a gritty character drama.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the characters?
I thought they were consistent and well maintained throughout.
How did you feel about Lewis? He's a complicated one. That one.
He's a tough one.
He could almost be the main character. Sincerely.
In any other situation, he would have been.
Yeah. Had Legoshi not been there, it probably would have been, because he got almost as much screen time as Legoshi did.
Almost.
Not quite, but almost. And
Yeah.
like, he seemed to be, if it almost seemed like he was like a more, at least for the first half of the show, he was a bigger character than Haru was.
Yes.
So it's almost as though they established Lewis and Legoshi as the main characters. Haru was their mutual love interest.
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of shifted as soon as Juno was introduced. Haru became a much bigger character. Lewis sort of like fell to the wayside in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And they tried to kind of like balance screen time between Lewis and Juno, with the main characters taking up the most screen time being Legoshi and Haru.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because like there's almost a very distinct divide between between like the first half of the show and the second half of the show.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they did a really good job. You know, they gave the lead three, i.e., Legoshi, Lewis, and Haru, all had a lot of really good depth and complexity.
Yes.
And it expounded upon all of their like backstories. And I think it did a good job with it.
Yeah.
You know, you see like Lewis.
I mean, even like Bill and like
We didn't.
Jack to a degree, they didn't get a lot of like
They didn't get any backstory, but they did
get like development.
Yeah, you know,
to a degree.
They talk quite often about, you know, Bill has a whole thing about like his image, but like at the same time, like he's a druggie. You know, and he's like trying to maintain this image as this like nice guy, and like, you know, oh, I'm like so strong and funny and friendly and blah blah blah,
Yeah.
but really he's like he's just an addict. You know, and he's using that to kind of like he's already like, fuck you, I can stop whatever I want. I'm gonna buy these man's fingers. Like, so I don't know. I think it was interesting that some of the characters that you initially believed to be these kind of like really stand up, like, you know, solid, good-hearted characters wind up being like kind of shady as fuck. Like, you know, Bill comes across the first few times you meet him as like this really, like we were just talking about, this really nice, genuine dude, and it turns out he's he's an addict, and he's like kind of a douchebag predator. You know, it's like he's got this bro next door public persona,
Yeah.
but beneath that is like kind of a dick. Lewis is a similar way. He, you know, the first few times you meet him, you're like, oh, he's this paragon almost. You know, he's like strong and he's standing up for herbivores, and he's, you know, he's our symbol. He's our Beastar.
Yeah.
But beneath that veneer is like this tormented past, and this constant battle with like himself and his inner strength and his desire to be stronger and to constantly seek out more power. And then when the cards were down, you know, he kind of like was like, no, I'm gonna protect my image instead of the person I love. But then at the end, sort of came back and sacrificed himself.
Yeah, which we still don't know what happened.
Yeah,
to him.
I was gonna say
that's another loose thread.
So yeah, you just kind of like never. He just sort of he goes into the compound. He shoots the head lion dude who was gonna try to snipe Legoshi with his 1911 while Legoshi was walking away, and he winds up just getting like.
I don't know where Lewis got the gun. I don't know if he
probably just
picked
got it off one of the bodies.
I mean, probably, but like, it's fun to think about, isn't it?
Is it?
Where the fuck did this 18-year-old deer boy get a fucking gun?
I mean, I'm gonna let you have fun thinking about that, but I feel like he was in a mafia compound where everybody was packing heat, so it doesn't seem that weird. The introduction of guns itself was weird to me, though.
Yeah.
That was kind of an interesting... Because you don't find out guns exist in this world at all until Haru gets abducted.
Yeah.
No, even after that. It's not until Legoshi goes to the compound and one of them pulls a gun on him.
Oh, by the way, the panda has a crossbow made entirely of bamboo.
Yes, he does. It's great. It's brilliant.
It's very funny. So.
He's also a savage.
Yes.
He's a beast, man. He beat up so many lions just single-handedly. And then he tied them all up and left them there for the cops. It was hilarious. But yeah, so it's Lewis just kind of vanishes, and you know, was he killed by the mafia? Was he eaten? Did he become the new Dawn? I don't know. Like,
who knows?
Who knows? And then jumping back to the characters for a second here, Legoshi's really seems to be one of the only characters that's not like hiding anything besides that one incident with Haru. That seems to be his only secret, and it eats him.
Yeah, constantly.
You know, it's like it fucks him up. But other than that, he doesn't really seem to have any like secrets.
No.
He's just
a lot of personal demons.
Yeah, he's just a really stand-up dude.
He tries.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a drink with him. He seems nice. We alluded to this earlier, and I don't know how much you have to say about this. Let's talk about the animation style. I think that is a conversation that I have some strong feelings about. Okay. I want to know where your head is at with that.
I mean, it wasn't... I know that I only know because of you that it's entirely CGI.
Yeah.
Normally I don't care for CGI. Normally it's like jarring.
Yeah, not good.
But like I didn't watch Ruby specifically because of the animation style.
Yeah.
In some cases it actually almost makes me nauseous.
It can give motion sickness sometimes, depending on how it's done.
So, in some things I've watched, it's had its place and it was used as a tool to emphasize certain things about certain characters.
Yeah.
In this, with it being just how things were animated, I forgot. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
It just was how it was animated.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's gotten so much better than, when Ruby first started, also being done by an actual full animation studio rather than a personal YouTube channel, which is how Ruby started.
Yeah. Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, Rooster Teeth.
I love their stuff. Their Red vs. Blue is hilarious.
Yeah.
Um,
They were fine animating stuff that already existed animated, but trying to go from scratch, they did fine for what they were at the time.
Yeah.
Especially they did a really
for
good
the
job.
resources available to them, they did a really good job.
But it's really jarring.
I still need to watch Ruby. I don't think we can review it on here because it's not anime,
It's
but
not.
I should watch it for my own personal curiosity.
Mm.
But, did you have any other opinions about the style or any of the visual?
It's hard to pinpoint a style because it's not like the characters aren't human, and I'm used to, like, I don't know how to translate it.
Okay.
I mean, they gave the golden retriever moe eyes, which was good, very good. It was weird because they gave Haru like all black eyes.
Yes.
But the other bunnies had like normal eyes.
Yeah.
And going back to the fact that I had a dwarf rabbit growing up, their eyes don't look like that. They look the same as any other bunny eyes. Like they're not like different in that way.
Plot twist. Haru is possessed by a demon and she's the murderer.
Maybe. Who knows?
It's all Crowley.
Legoshi has what has been referred to in other animes as dead fish eyes.
Yes.
He has Kobayashi's eyes.
Yeah, one of our favorite, Kobayashi. He has...
They're very similar.
Those kind of dead, lifeless
very small,
eyes.
small pupils. Or small irises. I can't really...
He's just kind of got this, like... He's very non-expressive most of the time. And
Yeah.
it matches his personality.
It's very cute when he does get expressive. He wags his tail involuntarily. It's so cute.
He's adorable.
He's a sweet boy.
Um...
Yeah, he'll just be like crouched down talking to Haru because she's literally half his height. So he'll like crouch down to talk to her.
He feels it's more polite for him to talk to her at eye level, so he crouches way the fuck down.
He
so
literally
can,
squats.
It's
so
precious.
Sweet. And like he'll just be talking to her and his tail will just start wagging.
Yeah. I will jump into some of my thoughts about the style. If you have any other thoughts, feel free to jump in. It was all CG. That means lots of 3D, lots of, it helped that they were anthropomorphized animals and not supposed to be humans, because it would have gotten, like, real uncanny valley real quick. So...
One could argue that it already is.
Yeah.
But...
So it, I'm generally not a fan of CG anime, but they did a decent job with it. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but CGI, like anything else, is a tool. They utilized it to do things that would be very hard to do with traditional animation styles. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. They had a lot of they emphasized it, it was 3D. They had those moments where it would do, Legoshi would smell Haru's scent, and it would do, like, that cutaway that showed it, like, the scent going into, his nasal cavity and, like, going up to his brain and firing all the synapses, and then, like, he would, like, kind of, like, glow, like, have this, like, veiny red glow pattern
Mm-hmm.
on him, that because it was this predatory strength within him, blah blah blah. So they utilize that to great effect, I think. Whether it was good or not, quote unquote good, as in like, you know, whether it added anything to it or not, I think is something you could debate. I think that's a very subjective question. But I appreciated what they were trying to do with it, and I don't think they did a bad job of it.
No.
So I'll at least say that much about it. I did have some issues in the first few episodes. Maybe it was internet problems, I don't know. But there were times, I swear, where the frame rate was jittery as fuck. And I was getting, like, nauseous looking at it. I was like, whoa, God, why is that character jumping? What's happening? Like, it was
I don't
like,
remember that.
it was almost like, it was CG, but it almost looked like the CG was some hand-drawn animation is done at like 12 frames per second instead of 24. Because depending on how it's drawn, like, it generally doesn't like take away from it to do it that way, and it saves you like twice as much time to do it that way because it's half the amount of frames.
Yeah.
So it almost seemed at certain points like the CG was moving at 12 frames per second, but the background was not. And I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? That made me quite unhappy a few times. Now, again, I can't say for certain that wasn't, I don't know, an internet issue or like an issue with our TV or something.
I've had that issue on Netflix recently, honestly. It happens with Criminal Minds, which I've watched before.
But it was weird because the characters were jittering, but the background wasn't.
I don't know.
And I don't know why that would happen. But, again, I can't say for certain that was the fault of the show. I don't have enough knowledge to make that claim for certain. But it did, at a few points, impede my enjoyment. And again, I know that was probably specific to me because you didn't notice it. I do have a slightly more discerning eye when it comes to that. I went to school for it.
Mr. Film Student.
Oh, listen to me, okay? Listen. I'm sitting here reviewing media for this podcast, okay? I gotta utilize my fucking film education somewhere, okay? Cut me some goddamn slack. But no, I do try to be more discerning when it comes to noticing visual styles, especially because, cinematography was my primary field of study and interest. So I tend to notice a lot more camera angles and things like that. And so I do tend to be a bit more discerning when it comes to that kind of thing. So maybe it was something I would notice, but somebody else wouldn't. A similar thing happened with Patrick and myself reviewing Demon Slayer. I was like, oh, the CG in this scene jarred me out of my skin. And he's like, oh, I didn't notice anything weird. Like, his biggest thing was, oh, the arrows looked weird. And I was like, yeah, kind of, but like compared to how he was animated in this scene with the CG, it was. So again, could have just been me. But I think it was worth noting from my watch experience, that fucked with me a bit, that jitter. The intro. How many times did you see the intro? Only a couple, right?
It was neat, though.
It was all stop motion.
Yeah.
And it was
puppets.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't really know what else to say about it. How was the intro song?
I don't even remember it.
I think it was jazzy. That's all I remember.
Was.
It was really jazzy. I dug it, but it was kind of forgettable also.
It was like swing music.
Yeah. But yeah, the intro was all stop motion, and it kind of like you could tell they knew they were doing this in a very different style than traditional anime, so they did what they could to make the most out of it by doing, like I said, doing those cutaways and those like use of 3D CGI and the use of the stop motion intro and all these other things. Like they were going for a distinct look.
Mm-hmm. They definitely got it.
And they got it. It looks.
I like the intro. It's not.
You skip it because we're binging it. We're not gonna rewatch.
Not even just that, but like, I would have skipped it if I was watching it on my own too.
Yeah,
it's neat. I watched it a couple of times.
Yeah,
but it's not easy breezy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna keep going back to that one. That one and the intro to Yuri on Ice. Could not skip that either.
What about Kobayashi?
Kobayashi was really cute.
You like that one a lot.
Yeah. It always made me giggle. We did skip it occasionally, but...
Because we were on... Yeah, whatever. And then... I alluded to this already a little bit, but really, really heavy use of split screen and other, like, different kind of visual tricks. Again, they were like, we have this tool, we are going to do as many weird, interesting things with it as we can. And they did. And, kudos to them. Kudos to them for not trying to play it safe. They were using a tool that, is only utilized generally for, like, really specific things. There's a lot of people that are kind of against the use of CG in anime, and they didn't try to hide the fact that they used it. They wanted to show, that CG is useful for more. It's useful in other ways than just to replace hand-drawn animation.
Yeah.
And they succeeded. A lot of split screen, lots of interesting kind of like cutaways, lots of, really utilizing the depth, the visual depth that you get from CG.
Yeah.
And, it worked. I didn't hate it. And it didn't look bad. Because it was like, it was CG, but it was like, if I fuck up what I call this, I'll never hear the end of it, but it almost seemed like cel-shaded a little bit, in the sense that it was like, the way the colors were done and things like that were like, it had a distinct style to the color that was like, the colors were generally flat and like had like hard edges to where one color would stop and another color would bend. What didn't like blend. So it was like, it looked, it's so hard. Like it looked like cartoon-ish. Like they weren't, like they used the CGI, but they weren't going for the most realistic look that they could. They were going for like a style, a stylized thing. Like would it the only other big example I can think of is like a 3D CG anime would be like the Godzilla, which I haven't seen. But the Godzilla anime on Netflix. Patrick has seen it. But I haven't seen it, but I've seen clips and stuff from it and trailers. And, like, in that, from what I recall, they try to go for, like, this kind of, like... They try to replicate the look of anime with 3D, and it looks fucking weird.
Alita Battle Angel, too. The live-action one that they did?
That's different.
No, but I know. But they used CG on her face to make her look like an anime person.
Yeah, that's but that's kind of like a different.
I mean,
that's going the opposite way. That's to get a live action thing and like turning it into like whatever. But no, that was weird too. That was jarring. But But no, I mean it didn't look bad, and I was worried when we first started it that I was like, oh, am I gonna be able to get into this? And it wasn't very long before I just didn't notice it, and kind of like you said, it just became, oh, this is just what the show looks like.
Yeah, it's not really like
It's like, in some ways, getting used to it is like getting used to any other like show animated slightly differently.
yeah,
You know, like if you watch,
like you're gonna have to get used to Soul Eater.
yeah, eventually I will have to get used to Soul Eater. Like if you watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and then you turn around and watch fucking.
Heaven's Feel.
Well, I was gonna say like Attack on Titan.
No,
Like
I mean,
they look so different.
yeah,
They have almost nothing in common.
yeah,
It's the same idea. You know, you get used to this kind of slightly more 3-dimensional
yeah.
style.
It wasn't anything for me to get used to. I was having to get used to anthropomorphic animals being the characters at the same time, so the animation really took a back seat for me.
Fair enough.
So I feel like that's probably how most people will end up handling it, because you're so busy being preoccupied with the fact that you're watching a wolf person talk to a bunny person,
And then the bunny tries to fuck him.
that you're just the fact that they're animated slightly different than other animes you've watched, who fucking cares? It's a wolf.
Well, clearly master level otakus, Carol.
Right. Give that guy you've been harassing on Reddit a nice shout out.
Yeah.
Let's not get into that.
I won't. I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to go any further than the comment I made, but thank you for that shout out.
Yeah, okay. Fucking bully.
It's fine. I'm bullying a bully. How'd you feel about the sound?
I mean, it wasn't like it suited it well enough to where like the sound never brought me out of it, but I never noticed it.
Yeah, I thought it was entirely
Which, like,
passable.
ultimately, unless you're going for a super dramatic feeling, having unnoticed sound
usually means you've done it right.
usually means you're doing a good job.
Yeah. So it was fine.
Yeah.
They did a perfectly passable job. I didn't ever have any problems with audio mixing, with like hearing the characters.
Yeah, and this isn't a show that would have wanted to try to draw attention to it, unlike, for example, the first show we reviewed, Keep Your Hands Off Aizuken, which, like, they're specifically drawing attention to the fact that they're utilizing sound.
Yeah. So, it did a good job. And the other thing, too, is, like, I say, oh, I never had a problem hearing the characters, but, like, we watched it in Japanese. So, like, even if I missed a couple of words that somebody said, we have subtitles.
Yeah.
So, but as far as I could tell, I didn't have any problem hearing the characters. I didn't have a problem, like, hearing the words. I just couldn't understand half of them. That pretty much covers the overall things. Do you want to get into any specific... Are there any specific parts of the show that really, like, stuck out that you want to talk about?
I think that one of the biggest, like, points that the show made to kind of, like, separate itself from real society was when Legoshi and Haru tried to have lunch together. And every time Legoshi opened his mouth, her leg would twitch.
Because she was trying to run.
It was her instincts trying to make her run away.
Yeah.
Because she's a rabbit and he's a wolf. And she just kept, like... It kept showing him take a bite and then her leg would twitch under the table.
Yeah.
And, like... That was kind of, like, an important, like, pin to put in. You know what I mean? Like, to kind of, like the wall of, like, pictures and, like, the ribbons connecting them. That was, like, a very, like, pointed connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I couldn't think of another analogy.
Yeah.
Fight me.
No, that's a worthwhile thing to talk about. That, and then her, like, when they go to have sex and she just, like, he, like, climbs over her and then he opened his mouth slightly to like, what was it, to say something or something, and then she just like flung her arm into his mouth, and she's like, I'm sorry, and it's just like, what the...
And he's just sitting there with his mouth open, trying not to bite down.
He's like, what's happening? Like, I don't... Oh, God, I mean, that's a whole fucking thing, right?
It's gonna be a frustrating relationship, to say the least.
It's just, that scene frustrated me. It was interesting that Legoshi was very close. We didn't get to talk about this to this point, but Legoshi was really close with Tem, who was the student that was killed at the beginning.
Yeah.
They were good friends, and they were both in the drama club together, obviously. And Tem had a crush on one of the other girls in the drama club, and he had this like love letter that he wanted to give her, and Legoshi was kind of like, he flashed back to this one moment a number of times throughout the show where he like saw Tem putting the letter back in his locker, and he's like, what, you're not gonna do it? And he's like, oh, I'll find the right time.
It's not the right time. Oh, the right time will come up.
Yeah. and then it was a big point where like in the first episode, Legoshi's following this girl home, this prey animal home at night after class, and he's being like real suspicious about it, and she like freaks out and is like, oh, get away from me. And then he's like, here, like, Tem never got to give you this letter, but I think he'd want you to have it. And it was like, that's when you really first realize this character is like something different. Everybody doesn't trust him because he's quiet and he's like this big, strong predator, but he just kind of keeps to himself and he doesn't say much, and he's just sort of like kind of a loner. It was kind of like what it almost reminded me of like the whole like the quiet guy in high school with like the long dark hair, wears trench coats to class every day, and it's like, oh shit, this dude's following me fucking home at night after class.
Yeah.
And then he just comes up and is like, here, you dropped your pencil, and then like leaves, and it's like, oh, he seems like a nice dude. Like,
yeah.
It was sort of like that. But I think that's an important, like, that's one of the first like moments of character development you really get for him. And I think it's really, really vital.
Yeah.
For that. He also he grows more later on in the show. He gets his physical and he's like, oh shit, did I get bigger again? God damn it. And he's so upset about this because he's already like so much taller than Haru, and
I'm telling you, he's like big for a wolf.
Yeah.
He's big.
I don't know if this is like a discussion that you think is appropriate to get into, but like he almost seemed like dysmorphic.
A little.
You know, like he was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, he hunched over a lot.
Yeah. He was super uncomfortable in his skin. He was really uncomfortable as...
He tried to make himself as small as possible.
Yeah. And it was interesting because he just... Who he fundamentally was physically.
Mm-hmm. Everything
about it bothered him.
Yeah.
And, the other animals that envied that, he was polite towards, but he's like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like with Lewis especially.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis kept being like, I wish I had your strength, show me your fangs, and blah, blah, blah. And Legoshi's like, you don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. His whole thing was, he said, you're... Right. The quote he said was, there's nothing good about a wolf being strong, but for you it's different. Everyone's coming to see your righteous strength.
Mm.
And it's... In a lot of ways, Legoshi was like super wise. You know, that he was kind of just like, he got what he was and what his place in society was. He understood it. And he feared it and hated it.
Yeah.
But, like, not necessarily for his own purposes, but because of what that meant for the way he fit into the rest of the world around him.
Yeah.
You know, and it shows that, like, at his core, he is a very selfless character. You know, he puts himself in a lot of ways. He puts himself through agony, you know, mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of the people around him, because he doesn't like what he is.
Yeah. He doesn't like the first impression people get of him,
and he doesn't like the fact that he's capable of hurting people by accident.
Yeah.
And you know, he's such a complex and just really well done character, and it's hard because, like, he's very selfless, but would you call him a paragon?
Remind me what a paragon is.
A paragon is like Emiya is a paragon. A paragon is a character, and like Midoriya, you know, a character that's just good and righteous and wants to do good to be good. You know, they've got like the hero heart type thing. You know, so like,
I think at face value, if you look at just his traits and like didn't look at him, if that makes sense, you would think so.
Yeah.
But
he checks a lot of the boxes. But
he's either missing something or he has an additional thing that makes it so that he doesn't quite fit into that slot. I think it's his utter unwillingness to be in the spotlight.
But yeah, you know, despite the boxes Legoshi checks, I could never actually see him. I never saw him in Thought Paragon, you know, no. and a character can be a paragon and be really well done, you know, and my favorite character from anything ever is a paragon, and he's really, really well written. But there was, I think you're right when you say that he either had something or was missing something that made him not quite fit into that.
I think he was missing the confidence. Because
yeah, I suppose you could say that.
I know that the character you're talking about, I'm just going to say his name for convenience sake, is Shiro from Fate. Shiro doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself, but he has a lot of confidence in the people around him. Constantly. Like, he's very trusting. In the people around him. And Legoshi is not.
Would you say Midoriya has a lot of confidence? I think a lot of the paragons that I really like, I think, are filled with self-doubt. And I don't think that's a unique trait to Legoshi.
Midoriya, though, he's got a lot of self-doubt, but he's got a lot of drive. Like,
yeah, I think you know what it really is.
Pointed and emphasized drive.
You know what? That's what Legoshi is missing. He has no drive. He wants to do the right thing, but he doesn't have an objective. He's kind of just going through life. You know, looks like maybe in season 2 he will be more of a paragon because he'll have more of a drive, with Haru being, because he's now driven to get stronger to protect her. And it's interesting because he's like, when he's put in a situation where he needs to act, he'll almost always try to do the morally right thing. But he hates being put in those situations. Yeah. He doesn't like having to make decisions. He doesn't like imposing his will on others. And I think that's what makes him distinctly different
Yeah,
from
because
any other Paragon character.
neither Shiro nor Midoriya can shut up about how much they want to be a good person.
Yeah.
And how they have morals to uphold, and how they
And that's not to say that they like go around being like, oh, I'm so great. Look at me.
No, it's
just
very
kind
much
of like,
the opposite.
Yeah, it's like, I'm a piece of shit. If I was less of a piece of shit, I'd be able to help everybody. And it's like, oh, poor baby. But yeah, he is interesting though. Legoshi is really interesting because he's got a very strong moral code, but he doesn't want.
He doesn't like to have to use it.
He doesn't like to have to force it on others, and the only time he acts really to uphold his morals or enforce his morals on others is when he sees someone else doing something that is so fundamentally against his morals that he has no choice but to act in his mind.
Yeah.
Like when he finds out Bill was doping with rabbit blood.
That, and when they run across the old goat man selling his fingers. Not goat, it was a aardvark? I don't know. The one with the funny snout.
He was a goat.
No, he had
goat eyes.
Deer have goat eyes because they're goats. Kind of. They're like sheep in the same family. But this was like, you know the critters that have like they're like elephant trunks, but they're shorter and they just flop?
No,
he was one of them.
Like, what's that animal? Starts with a T. It has one of those. So it looks like a pig, but it has that little, like, weird snout thing.
I don't know.
Whatever.
But it was one of those.
I'm going to remember it, like, in the middle of the night. You're looking it up.
Fuck you.
But even in that situation, he spoke out against what Bill and company wanted to do, which was buy the man's fingers and eat them. But he didn't...
Tapir?
Yes, it was a tapir. Thank you.
I don't know if that's what he was.
No, he wasn't that. I wanted to talk about that animal. They're stupid.
Okay.
You're welcome. It was such a contribution.
Amazing.
No, but even then he spoke out against them, but he didn't try. If I remember correctly, he didn't try to like fight them or anything. You know? He seems pretty like libertarian in the sense that he's just kind of like, oh, like, live and let live, and like whatever people choose to do. If this guy wants to sell you his fucking fingers, I guess. I think it's abhorrent, but like,
I don't want to participate.
I'm not doing it. I'm gonna fuck out of here.
I don't think you should. Yeah, but it's like, I'm not gonna stop you.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to.
He is willingly.
I'm not going to use my strength to stop you.
He's willingly selling you his fingers.
Yeah.
He's complicit in this.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. That scene was
weird.
Fucking weird. And all he did was he just stopped to ask the dude for directions. The dude's like, "Want my fingers?" And he's like, no. The
and
fuck?
Bill's like, yes.
He's like, "Wait, you're saying I can just suck your fingers, bro?" And it's like, all right. Okay, what the fuck are we watching? It was kind of like the first moment when Haru corners him in the shed, the flower shed.
Yeah.
And she just starts stripping while he's kind of like, what was he? He was like, "Oh, how do I tried to eat you, blah, blah, blah." And then, like, he finally pays attention while she's just, like...
standing there now in her underwear.
And he's like, "What the fuck?" And at the same time, like, you and I are watching it, like, the fuck kind of show is this? Like, this is the episode, this is the third episode. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't know, the show does have a few of those moments, though, where it's like, are they allowed to show this? Like, should they be showing
it's not
this?
people.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I say that, but like again, Attack on Titan exists,
Yeah.
and like a lot of other shows, and like
Yeah.
from what I understand, like the opening scene in fucking Goblin Slayer and shit like that,
Yeah.
all that shit exists. So like, of course they're allowed to, but it's just kind of like, should they be? Like, and it's
Yeah.
not that it's weird. It's not visually even close to like the most upsetting thing. It's not visually upsetting.
It's not
It's not visually like
Kara
shocking.
no
Like,
Kyokai.
oh God, what am I looking at? But it's like, it's executed in such a way that it's like some feature about the way it's done is like shocking.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, like I wasn't. It's just that it's not. You don't anticipate it
Yeah.
when the scene begins, and then when it gets to that point, you're like, was I feel like I stepped out of the room and came back in, and a different show came on. Like, I feel like it's like it's like that meme where the somebody will post a still from like some like the pornographic parody of like the Grinch, and it'll say the caption will be, I think I rented the wrong Grinch movie or something, like, or
yeah.
I didn't remember this scene in the Grinch.
Right.
It felt like that a few times where it was kind of like, whoa, hang on, I stepped out of the room and somebody put on like the weird fucking fan fiction of it. It's like, what the hell?
Animated Dojin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was that might have been like a weird tangent, but like it's true that there was a few moments in it that just were jarring in like weird ways.
Yeah.
Not jarring in the ways that other shows have been, where they will just straight up show like a sexual assault taking place or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
whoa. But
Yeah.
like the fact that the expectation going into the scene is so different from the outcome of the scene, that's what causes this like disconnect. That really threw me. I don't know about you, but it really threw me in a few of the scenes.
I think it was mostly just that one first scene with Haru. that
And then a
threw me
little
off.
bit with the dude in his fingers, and then a little bit again with the lion at the end with Haru, because he was like, oh no, like, yeah, like, you're food, but like, I'm gonna be nice to you. And then she's like, fuck you, and he's like, all right, fuck you too then. Like, and it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
This show, there were scenes that upset me when I was watching them, and I think that's the mark of a good show generally.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like, that managed to upset me, and like,
Yeah.
if I didn't care about the show, that wouldn't have upset me.
Right.
But it didn't feel like the point was to upset me.
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh, it was just like trigger bait or whatever. It was kind of just like, it was well done. Bad things were happening to characters I was beginning to actually care about,
Right.
and I didn't like it. And I wanted it to stop,
Okay.
because he's a good boy and you leave him the fuck alone. So, was there anything else that really stood out to you? About Bill's performance in the play.
I didn't really understand what was going on in the play anyway.
I think it was like, the main character is supposed to be like this hero, this like masked vigilante who like saves
No,
a
the
princess.
the main character is the Grim Reaper.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I didn't that's the only thing I gleaned from it.
Okay. Oh, he was like the Reaper, and he like fell in love with
Yeah.
the girl he saves or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah. But what about like Bill's? Because like specifically, like, he choked. He got on stage and he fucking choked
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So in spite of all of his confidence, in spite of all of his boasting and bragging and his you know, his doping and all this other shit.
Yeah.
You know, for all his talk, he kind of exposed himself for what he really was, which was kind of a sad, pathetic, really weak, I say person because,
well,
you know, just a weak being.
Yeah.
And then Legoshi proceeded to beat his ass on stage in front of everybody.
Yes, he did.
But you and I had a little bit of a disagreement about who won that fight.
Well,
do you want to get into that at all?
I don't really remember.
Well, you had said that Legoshi was stronger than Bill. And I was like 100% no. Legoshi's strong. And he's a wolf. And he's strong by wolf standards even. But Bill's a fucking tiger. Tigers are the most dangerous large predator like that. I think more so than lions and shit even.
Well, lions hunt in packs as well.
So tigers are not to be trifled with.
Yeah.
And Bill showed that by basically, you know, putting Legoshi in a position where he's like, if I wanted to kill you right now, I could, and it would take almost zero effort. And then he gave Legoshi the scars on his back.
Yeah.
And I think the scene, that whole sequence was interesting because it showed a few things. It showed Bill might be strong physically, but has a weak character and has a weak, you know, it was specifically his performance as an actor. He was a weak actor.
Yeah.
But, like, it was more of a metaphor for, like, his character as a whole and his personality and, like, his will as a whole. You know, and Lewis even, like, before he goes out on stage, he's like, you are, you know, tonight you're not Bill, you're a symbol. And your performance tonight is going to determine whether other people join this club, and, like, you're representing our club as a whole. And if you can't take the weight of that responsibility, if you can't take the gravity of that responsibility, you know, then it will break you. And Bill's like, psh, come on, I'll be fine. And he gets out there and he starts choking and he's like, oh, fuck. And he starts to remember his words. He's like, oh, shit, I'm fucked, man. And actually, honestly, Legoshi kind of saved that play.
Yeah.
With the help of Lewis at the end. But, like, nobody cared what was happening in the play. They were all bored in the audience. Until Legoshi came out and just started beating his ass. And everybody's like, oh, shit, this is good. This is interesting. I'm liking this now. And then, you know, to break up things between Legoshi and Bill, Lewis comes back out on stage, still injured, but comes back out on stage, like, not in costume or anything. And it's kind of like, oh, you're a phony. I'm the real me. Haha. And everyone's like, yeah, this is a great show. And it's like, okay. Anybody who's been to both plays is going to be able to tell real quickly that this is not how the play was supposed to go. But, all right, I guess we'll just play it off like it was all intentional. So, pardon me. So that was interesting. I still don't know how Lewis managed to pull that off. What did you think about Juno as a whole?
I really wanted to like her.
I take it you didn't.
On the surface, was a very likable character.
Uh-huh.
On the very surface. who's a cute, like, peppy little wolf with ambition, and she can inspire people around her with a good speech, but in her core, she was extremely selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And
She was like Bill. Sorry, not Bill. Sorry, I misspoke. She was like Lewis.
in some ways, yes.
She was like Lewis, but for different reasons. She got everything she ever wanted. Lewis had to fight for everything he had. But they both had the goal. They both, not coincidentally, they both wanted to become Beastar.
Yeah.
And, you know, the difference was Lewis had to pull that strength from within himself.
Yeah.
She was born with it.
Yeah.
So I take it you didn't wind up liking her in the end.
I didn't really. She was very two-faced.
What was your biggest issue with her? Was it the fact that she was two-faced?
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like two-faced people. I don't like that character trait in anybody.
What was the moment where you started to be like, oh, I don't think I like her anymore? Can you pinpoint
With
it?
Lewis, when she asked him to help her practice.
And that's when
And
she kind
she-
of first revealed.
Yeah, as soon as she revealed that she was a two-faced, conniving, like,
Bitch.
little on the nose.
Well, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a female dog.
I know. That's why I said a little on the nose. As soon as, like, that happened and, like, her true intentions were revealed, I was like, how disappointing.
Yeah.
She had so much potential as a likable character.
But that's what I was saying when I was talking about the characters in the series. Like, a lot of them, like, they get introduced as one thing, and they turn around and be something else. And I think that was kind of a theme. They did that. That was actually a big theme, because they did that with everything. The mayor. They did that with a society as a whole.
Well, the mayor... I don't know. The mayor is... Really, he was just trying to uphold peace. I disagree with
Yes.
how he did it, but, like, that was really his goal. He really, truly was just trying to maintain a peaceful society.
Yes.
And that becomes a more complex issue.
I won't say it's not a complex issue. But
So, I don't think that he ever actually betrayed his designated character alignment,
well,
to me.
yeah, but he kind of like, again, this is another example of like, on the surface he's super nice and he's a lion, but he looks very sweet and very kind and not very intimidating, and he's, you know,
Yeah.
so gentle and nice to everybody he encounters, but he's not above blackmail. He's not
Yeah.
above, you know, saying, oh well, she's just one rabbit, who gives a shit, you know, let the mafia have her. You know, he's not above, like, oh, I know the black market exists, I'm not doing anything about it, it keeps peace. You know, and it's like,
I mean, it does, but
yeah, but
for the most part.
again, it's a matter of like, he espouses one set of beliefs and values,
I guess. I don't know.
but then his actions show that, yeah, okay, I do want peace, but I'm willing to use unethical means to get that peace.
I suppose.
So, you know, and then you find out too, like, he had all this really extensive surgery, like plastic surgery and stuff, just to make
Dentures.
himself. Yeah, he got all of his teeth removed and got fake dentures, like flat herbivore teeth
Yeah.
put in. He had all this plastic surgery to make his face look less intimidating and stuff. Like, you know, he went to all these measures, and you kind of find that's a lot of the characters, you know, in the society as a whole. It seems like on the surface it's this really peaceful society where predators and prey are coexisting peacefully and blah blah blah. And then you find out, well, that's because most of the predators are off at the fucking black market getting meat every night.
No.
You know, and it's like, that happens so consistently.
Yeah.
that Juno revealing herself to be not what she seemed didn't surprise me too much.
It didn't surprise me, but it made me dislike her.
Yeah. Are there any other characters you want to talk about more extensively? Do you think deserve a little special treatment?
There was that side plot with the Harlequin rabbits.
Yeah.
But, like, it only, like, popped up a couple of times, and it was only ever in relation to Haru.
And her
promiscuity. Because there was the Harlequin Want to
try that one again?
There was the Harlequin rabbit couple. There was the Harlequin rabbit couple. I'm just not going to be able to say that smoothly. It's fine. Who were dating, and the female was a bitch. And the male kept cheating, presumably because she was a bitch. Understandable. He kept cheating on her with Haru, and so her name started with like an H or an M or something like that. And she kept popping up and harassing Haru because...
And Haru was taking it like a champ, too.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, well, maybe if you didn't suck so much like being a bitch,
yeah,
you wouldn't be at my fucking doorstep all the time.
Maybe if you were actually a decent fucking rabbit to him.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the little side plot that happened a few times.
Yeah, I think it is somewhat relevant to mention because that is how a lot of, like, Haru's information got revealed to us, like, as to what the deal was with her. And then when, you had that scene where the guy it was like a flashback scene where one of the drama club members was sitting with some of the other herbivores, and the male Harlequin rabbit was there, and he was like, oh, I met this girl, Bunny, oh, it was great. And then one of the other dudes was like, wait a minute, was she blah blah blah? Did she have a, this kind of coat? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, oh shit, like I was with her too. And it wanted to be in this whole thing, and that's why Legoshi went with this other dude to the club.
That's right.
To go get flowers for the drama club, because Haru's the only member of the gardening club.
Yeah. And
they went to the gardening club to get flowers for the play, and he goes there with this dude, and as soon as Legoshi sees that it's Haru, he's like, oh fuck, I need an excuse to not be here, bathroom, and then the other dude's like, well, oh shit, I just remembered I have something else to do, bye, and he's like, you bastard. He sees him later after Haru tries to seduce him, and he's like, you see him in the hallway, and he's like, everything will be fine, right? I mean, a wolf and a rabbit? Come on, that never happened, right? Right? It was just like, you dick. You total dick.
Oh, well,
It was high school, all right. I mean...
Yeah.
I want to talk briefly about something that confused me.
Okay.
Episode 1, right at the end, when Legoshi goes to attack Haru. It's strongly implied that that's the first time that's ever happened.
Right.
And only time to him. What triggered it? And why? Presumably he smelled a rabbit before in his life.
Yeah.
Goes to
It's
school
probably
with
just
them.
a setting, if I were to guess.
I was
It was
wondering
nighttime.
if, like, yeah, I was gonna say, is it because wolves are nocturnal, and is it because, like, he's only predatory at night? I got that impression from the intro, actually.
Not that it was that he's only predatory at night. More that, like,
Wolves hunt at night?
that was the first time he'd probably been in a situation like that involuntarily, because he voluntarily followed the sheep home to give her the letter,
I suppose.
and so he knew she was there, but this prey animal comes within smelling distance of him at night there's nobody else around, and it just flicks a switch in his brain
It
involuntarily.
also seems like it was only ever Haru. It was never any other prey animals.
I don't
It was
know.
only Haru that he ever had that reaction to.
I don't know.
It's very odd. It's very odd how that, like... I don't want to say, like, oh, how convenient. But, like, in a lot of ways it kind of was.
I don't know. It also seems like it was one of the only times that it, like, would have been facilitated.
Mm.
Just because of how society was structured. You know what I mean? I don't think she was supposed to be out there.
Yeah, neither of them
And
were.
then neither were they. So, because of, like, curfews and dorm placement and, like,
Yeah.
all of that nonsense.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
It's certainly, thinking back to it, I mentioned it, actually, at the beginning of my notes for episode 2. Because he was totally fine walking around other prey animals during the day, and even around Haru during the day.
Yeah.
And I said in my notes, I was like, so does he only get urges at night then? Like, I don't follow. It was pretty vague
Yeah.
about that whole thing.
Well, they were pretty vague about the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of just one of those, seems like one of those, like, this is just how it is things, you know? There were a lot of those.
So, I'd also mentioned this scene where Legoshi gets challenged to a fight in the cafeteria by, was he a coyote?
I don't know.
Some smaller...
I think it might have been a fox.
Was he a coyote or a fox? So one of the smaller kind of that sort of family or genus or whatever.
It was the next day from, it was episode...
It was in episode 2.
Was it episode 2?
Yeah. And the only note that I have on it is Legoshi's trying to figure out how to lose the fight on purpose. And I think that's an interesting aspect to his character that we haven't touched on yet. He's so much afraid of his own strength
Yeah.
that he goes out of his way in this situation to try to avoid the fight at all costs, but then when it seems inevitable he's going to have to fight,
Yeah.
he tries to not only figure out how to lose the fight, but how to do it convincingly
Yeah.
so that it makes the other person actually think they beat him.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there and he's like, okay, I've got this much weight on him, I've got this much height on him, I've got this much reach on him. He's like, how can I make myself lose this fight? Like, there's no conceivable way he could beat me. How am I going to make it? And it's just so... Again, in 2 episodes, it adds all of this depth to Legoshi's character to show how different he is from so many of the other predators that we see at the school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Legoshi having that moment where instead of seeing himself as like, oh, I'm a predator, Haru's a prey, this can't work. He has that moment where he goes, well, I'm more than just a predator. I'm also a male. And she's a female. That's supposed to be a thing.
Yeah.
And, that moment he takes a step back and is like, I'm not... Society labels me as one thing. It's a predator. But I'm not just that.
Right.
And that's an important growing moment for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes early on in, like, episode 3. And you start to see, like, that's when a lot more Um, yeah, that's the following episode is where he confronts Bill, and they fight. So like, that's when he starts to maybe stop being so ashamed of what he is.
Yeah.
I could absolutely tell something really bad was going to happen when Bill started. And I know, foreshadowing and all that, but like when Bill started being like during the practice for the play, he's like, "Yeah, Legoshi, we're both predators. We can use our full strength to fight each other in this scene." And Legoshi's like, "I really don't want to, thanks. I'm good."
Yeah.
And Bill kind of forces him into it.
Yeah.
By going at him with full strength. I said, Bill's insistence on showing off his strength as a carnivore against Legoshi is troubling.
Yes.
And then, of course, like 2 scenes later, you find out he's doping, and then the play happens, and it's a fucking mess.
Basically the equivalent of steroids.
Yeah. So... And then Lewis doesn't care.
Well,
when he finds out Bill was using the rabbit blood.
He's got his own shit to worry about.
But it's so interesting how he's kind of just like, he finds out about it, and Legoshi's like, "See, like, isn't this fucked?" And Lewis is just like, "It's not my fucking business. I don't give a shit."
Yeah.
What the fuck he does in his free time isn't my concern. I just care about, how he makes the club look.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, like, that was an echo of the same sentiment. I kind of realized that it was like, just now, that's almost like a foreshadowing of the incident with the mayor and Lewis later on. Where it's like, the mayor's like, "Oh, some lions took a rabbit. Whatever. I don't give a shit. Like, I just care about, keeping peace in the city's image.
Yeah.
And I'll destroy whatever evidence I need to uphold that." And then when you find out that Lewis has been sleeping with Haru for like however the fuck long, but Lewis what was his whole thing is he was arranged. He was like, he wasn't yet in an arranged marriage, but like there was an arranged marriage set up for him.
Yeah, he was betrothed.
Yes, that's the word.
Yes.
And then the other thing I wanted to point out was the whole ass egg side plot.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, good for her, but like
that? Like, so do you want to explain what that was?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. I don't want to get into it. It's not that important. It's a little side plot for like 1 or 2 episodes.
It was
The entirety of episode, what, 7?
No, it wasn't even the entire... It was before the intro even played.
Oh, was it?
It was like a 5-minute thing before the intro of episode 7. It was completely out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it was
weird. And they
weird.
only did it once.
Yeah. It was just a weird side plot about this chicken selling her eggs.
This hen that she was like going to all this effort to like make her eggs
taste
perfect
better.
Eggs.
Yeah.
And she sat right next to Legoshi in
Legoshi
class.
just happens to really like eggs.
He really, well, specifically he talks about all the eggs that the egg sandwiches on Wednesdays are always amazing.
And then of course Jack, being a golden retriever, they eat anything and
like,
they don't care what it tastes like.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. They just taste like eggs.
They all taste the same, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
And he's like, "No, man, I swear." And then the hen sit next to him and she's like, "Yeah, I'll never tell." Like,
stupid.
But then there's this whole thing where she feels all weird because then all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, the eggs taste like ass now. I don't know what's going on." And Jack again is like, "Dude, they just taste like fucking eggs. Why you gotta be so weird about it?" So she gets all depressed, and then she finds out that they started selling her eggs on a different day.
Yeah. Jack is my favorite.
Jack's good.
Jack's a good boy.
That was such a fucking random whole ass side
Yeah,
plot.
it was really strange.
I just don't. That episode was weird, actually. The first half of it, because then it was all flashbacks between Lewis and Haru, and how Lewis shed his horns, and his antlers, and he was anxious about being seen without them, so he was having prosthetics made. So he was hiding out at Haru's place in the flower hut for like however many days it took for the new antler. It was like this whole weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Oh my god.
Oh my god, what?
I think I just figured out. You asked how he got the hat on.
Prosthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I feel so dumb. I just thought of that.
Well.
Because for context, the character that he plays, the Reaper character in the play, is wearing this like big like sombrero.
And the skull goes over his head,
yeah,
too.
and like this. It's a deer skull, right?
No, it's got fangs.
Oh.
It's like. It's a Wendigo skull, is what it is. Actually. Which are mythological carnivorous deer.
Yeah.
Basically. Most interpretations. I could get into a whole lot more detail.
But yeah, so we were talking about how I was like, oh, how the fuck does he? Why has no one else asked that question? Like, hey, Lewis, how do you put that on?
You're all too scared of him. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding?
It just seems weird. It just seems weird that nobody's like, how do you manage to fit into that? Like, it's like you got.
I'm sorry. Would you ask him?
I'd be curious. I don't know that I'd ever think of it. I'd just be like, yeah, it's just his costume. But like, at some point, I might be like, hang on. How do you get that hat over your fucking antlers?
No, I'm sorry. Everyone's just too scared of him.
Fair. It seemed like a lot of Legoshi's motivation when getting Haru back from the Mafia was like he was trying to make up for the time he attacked her. You know?
Yeah.
He was seeking forgiveness not just from her but from himself. And he's like, hey, like, I made a mistake, but like I can do it. I can make it right. If I do the right thing now, I can be forgiven.
Yeah.
I think it worked.
Yeah.
You know? He fucking fought like 15 lions to fucking save her. Almost killed one of them. It's also interesting when he went to the compound, the Mafia compound, to get her back.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment where he was fighting the dude with the gun on the bridge, he called Haru his prey.
Yeah.
And like that was a weird moment.
It was.
This was a weird show. It was very good, but it was so weird. It was like so. It's a weird show. And then Haru has that whole flashback, like that whole like flashing back through her life.
It was it's a
when she was like in
coping
her
mechanism.
Head. Yeah, when
basically.
She was in her head writing her like farewell note
to protect herself.
Yeah.
Dissociating, that's what I was looking for.
And it's interesting how you learn when she kind of like started being promiscuous. Because she basically like everybody always pitied her and everybody's always looked down on her and wanted to protect her and stuff. And they always saw her as like nobody ever saw her as she was in her eyes. They only ever saw her as a little bunny and I need to protect her and blah blah blah. And she's, one of the things she says is there's no lies in bed. And the first time she kind of went to bed with a guy, she was like, oh, he didn't see me as, oh, I need to protect you. He saw me as me, or as close to me as I thought somebody could see me at the time.
Right.
Until she met Legoshi, who
just sees her as
just
she
sees
is.
her
I mean,
as
he
she
sees her
is.
as a bunny and he wants to protect her, but like he interacts with her as an equal.
Yeah, and it's like he's not trying to sleep with her. He's not trying to attack her. He's not trying to be like, "Oh, I got to protect you because you're small and helpless." He's just kind of like, "Oh, like I like you as a person and I want to get to know you." And it's not until that moment that she really realizes how much that connection means to her.
Yeah.
One last thing about the dynamic between Haru and Legoshi. I think it's interesting because after he saves her from the mafia and, you know, Juno does that bullshit where she tries to, like, protect, you know, to steal him and stuff, and then he chases after Haru and is like, fuck you, I don't like you, I'm going after the person I care about. Haru's like, you know, it's like, you're making this really hard for me, like, I'm trying to, like, help you, I can't be with you, I'm trying to help you, like, you're making it hard for me to do that. The more time you're around me, the harder it is for me to be away from you. And it's interesting because she alludes to the idea that it's like she's not afraid of getting eaten by him for her own sake.
Yeah.
She's afraid that he'll attack her and what that will do to him.
Mm-hmm.
Both emotionally and, like, the legal ramifications.
Socially, legally.
Yeah.
Societally.
And it's interesting that she kind of winds up wanting to protect him in that way.
Yeah.
And you know, last thing plot related is, like, do you have any suspicions as to who you think the killer was?
Well, I mean, I see you suspect Bill.
I suspect Bill, but I also think Bill's too obvious.
Yeah.
I think they want us to suspect Bill.
Yeah. Then
I'm wondering
again,
if it's a character we haven't met yet.
Well, they said it has to be somebody within the drama club.
Yeah, it does. And you see at the end, from the perspective of the killer, Legoshi clearly knows this person.
Yeah.
And, like, is like, oh, you know, there you are. Like, let's get back. You know, they're waiting for us or whatever. So, like, again, like, you've got all these, these clues pointing towards it being Bill. But again, Bill seems too fucking obvious. And he also seems like kind of too much of a pansy to have done that.
I mean, there's also, like, the possibility that it was a herbivore framing.
Yeah, but I don't know how they'd frame. They were really specific that, like, oh, he was devoured.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd fake that as a herbivore, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really weird because it tried to show us, like, this. It showed us, like, a silhouette in the first episode.
Yeah.
That whoever it is has very, like, puffy fur.
I don't remember that.
I'm just trying to.
My phone's dying.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to pin it down, and if you just look at drama club members, like, you don't have a big suspect pool.
No, there's not very many carnivores.
No.
Most of them are a lot smaller than Bill and Legoshi.
Yeah. So,
like, a lot smaller.
And
also, that's another thing that I just remembered that I wanted to talk about. What are like omnivores? What do they do? It's not even like.
I think they're classified as one of the two. They're all forced to be
herbivores.
They're all forced to eat not meat.
Yeah. Forced to be vegetarian.
Yeah. So there's that, but, like, I assume,
because, like, weasels and stuff.
Yeah, I assume depending on the omnivore, like, it might be classified as a carnivore. Because, like, you have his buddy
Because bears are omnivores.
What was
bears
his-
are strictly omnivores.
Yeah.
Like,
What
they
was
will
his-
eat anything.
His buddy, it wasn't a weasel. It was a mongoose.
Yeah, mongoose.
Yeah, his buddy was a mongoose, and I
Yeah.
think those are omnivores. But I think he was classified as a predator.
Going back to me obsessively looking up voice actors, the mongoose is voiced by the same person as Bakugo from My Hero Academia.
Yeah. But yeah, I assume it's they're classified as one of the two. You know, it's probably
Yeah.
a lot of them will be treated as carnivores.
Well, because mice are omnivores, and they're sectioned off with the herbivores because they're prey. But they're
Well,
scavengers. They'll eat anything.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between a scavenger that will eat dead meat if it's around and an animal that hunts.
Yeah.
Mice don't hunt other than like insects.
It looks...
Oh, Legoshi's pet.
Yeah, his little pet rhinoceros beetle.
His pet rhinoceros beetle. And then it died.
Yeah.
I was sad. Literally, it was a beetle that you met one time, and then you find out later that it died.
Yeah.
Because he stopped feeding it because he was gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I just made myself sad.
Good job, dude.
Fuck. All right. Sorry, going back to
Yeah,
it.
it was... When I first started watching the show, this thought ran through my head of, man, what about pets? Bugs.
Yeah.
They have bugs as pets.
That's
Bugs
hilarious.
aren't anthropomorphized. They're just bugs still.
But yeah, I assume that animals that...
It's almost more that it's predators and prey rather than
that's why
herbivore and carnivore.
That's why I hated... That's why in almost all of my notes, I kept fucking up and saying predators versus prey. Because that's really what it was.
Yeah, I
It
mean-
wasn't carnivores and herbivores. And
No.
that's too broad.
'Cause that's the thing, too. Is
and
chickens...
incorrect.
Chickens? Are you fucking
Chickens will
kidding
eat
me?
anything.
Literally each other.
Yeah. So that was way too broad. That could have been a translation issue. I don't know.
Could have been.
I mean, they did call Lewis fucking Ruis.
Yeah.
So, oh god, that's just so egregious.
That was sad.
Come on, Netflix, get your shit together. But yeah,
That was...
I assume it's more like predatory animals versus non-predatory animals.
Yeah.
And then, like, we didn't really touch on, like, a few times they kind of, like, compare Haru's seductress-like nature to that of, like, a predator.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really end up going very far. And, like,
No.
there was some stuff that they kind of, like, started to point in certain directions and then kind of just, like,
Decided that wasn't the way they
it just
wanted
sort of
to go with
fizzled out.
Yeah,
It didn't
no.
really like yield anything productive. So we didn't really talk about a lot of those, but I think as a whole, I think we both really liked the show.
Yeah.
We got pretty specific with a lot of this stuff, but like as much
It
as
was a very dense show.
yeah, as much as it felt like it was really dense, I felt like when we sat down to talk about it, it was a lot simpler
Well,
than because again, like we were kind of at the end of here, we're sort of just like struggling to like think of stuff to talk about. It could
we've
also
been
be because we
talking
watched.
for 2 hours.
Yeah, but it could also be because we watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Could be.
I mean, we didn't just finish this. A lot of the
No.
times we finish whatever it was we watched like within a few days of us doing the
Yeah.
recording. We finished this,
A week and a half ago.
yeah, something like that. So, this has been in the process for a while.
Yeah.
We just have not had fucking time to sit and record. It's just been chaos.
Yeah.
But yeah, so wrapping up, and then I'll do some of the closing stuff. So
Okay.
final impressions. Do you want to go first?
It was good. I would watch it again with somebody else who hasn't seen it.
Mhm.
And I'm definitely looking forward to season 2.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I'm interested to see where they go with this.
Yeah. Like we said at the beginning, it's still jury's still out as far as we're concerned if it's like a furry show or not, but like it like I said at the beginning, it's better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly good. And that's what we've heard from everybody.
Pretty much.
So maybe people should just stop
Being so surprised.
judging it on pure face value
Yeah.
and give it a shot. And worst case, it'll meet your expectations.
I'm seeing people even that, like, don't watch anime
Yeah.
watch it. It's kind of having, like, an Attack on Titan-esque thing to it. Where,
I mean,
like,
it's Netflix. Everybody has Netflix just about.
yeah, there's a lot
or
of
a
other
way
stuff
to
on
watch
Netflix that, like,
Netflix.
people that haven't caught on like this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
No, I know.
but,
It's
yeah,
just
I mean,
different
even people
enough.
that are like, oh, anime's fucking stupid, they're like, oh, yeah, I
Well,
watched it,
because
it was
it's
good.
like, it's anime, but it doesn't
Yeah, I
look like
suppose
anime.
that's true.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, it's anime without the
Animation.
yeah.
Who would you recommend this to?
I don't know. I mean, it's just pretty good. If you like dramas, you'll probably just like it, you know?
Just
It's
people who like character dramas.
yeah, like if you can get past the fact that it's anthropomorphic animals, which I highly encourage you to do.
Yeah.
It's just like watching any other character drama. It's like it's got a unique setting, it's got unique character motivations, and I found it very interesting to watch the world unfold in front of me.
Yeah, fair enough. Some of this is going to be rehashing some of what you just said, but overall, I honestly liked it a lot more than I had anticipated. It was well written, had an interesting visual style, had a very compelling story in a well-crafted world. At times, I was nervous that it was getting a bit carried away with symbolism, but that didn't really detract from my enjoyment of it. I recommend it for people who like dramas, kind of like noir type shows, grittiness, or if you're a furry, I guess. I don't recommend it to people who are utter purists and can't stand 3D anime. I think that's dumb.
Yeah.
I think you should give 3D anime a shot. I think it can be good. But
it's
if you-
also a
if
very
you-
good example of
yeah,
3D.
if you're determined to be like, no, 3D anime is just stupid, blah, 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 then yes, you can pick on different things, and you can pick on the jitteriness. You can pick on,
yeah, and I watched a clip. We were looking to see what the animal was that
earlier, yeah.
Legoshi was fighting in the cafeteria. And I did, like, once it was pointed out to me, I did notice it. But for me personally, I just really didn't see it the first time through.
But if somebody's going into it looking for a reason to
Yeah, of
shit
course.
on, that you're gonna find them. If you're
Yeah.
looking for something to hate, you're gonna find it.
Yeah.
But that's just a rule about
If you're
anything.
just determined to hate something, you will.
So that's why, if you can't stand 3D anime, and you just want an excuse to, you're looking for an excuse to hate on 3D anime, don't fucking watch this.
Yeah.
Don't waste your breath preaching to everybody about how much 3D anime sucks. Nobody fucking cares, okay? Just let people enjoy the shit they want to enjoy and go fuck yourself.
All right, then.
You're welcome. Thank you
Okay.
for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't
I
know
am
what that
very
was.
uncomfortable with the energy we've created in the studio today.
Yeah, so that's enough of that. Next week. Sorry. No, not next week.
Not next week.
Next episode. I will say that for a while. I will keep saying next week.
Cease.
Next episode. You won't
No.
be. Patrick and I.
Pat will be back.
Patrick, thank
You can
God.
you
No,
can
I'm just
rejoice.
kidding.
I know I'm not as interesting of a co-host.
You're not as interesting of an anything.
You know what? That is arguably untrue.
Yes, it is. Sorry.
As much as I love Pat,
So yes, next week Patrick will be back. He and I will be reviewing Death Parade. We're watching it on Hulu.
okay, so it looks like it's on iTunes, Amazon Prime Video, and Google Play Movies and TV. Looks like Google Play and Amazon might charge, even if you have a subscription.
I think iTunes does as well.
It doesn't give me any information because I can't put iTunes on this tablet because it's a Samsung.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That looks like it, though, for legally
So,
watching it.
yeah, if you want to watch it through a subscription service and you don't want to have to pay extra... Oh, whoa.
Funimation has it.
Funimation has it. Okay. So, through subscription services, Hulu or Funimation. If you want to pay for it, iTunes, Google, or Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, so we will be watching Death Parade. We'll be back with that in a couple of weeks. And then I have an idea of what we're doing after that. It's not set in stone yet, so I don't want to tell you guys, but I'm really excited. It looks like I'm going to be getting on a new guest.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm now excited, too. The mouth to it was to me.
Yeah, so it looks like that is the person I will be having on in a couple episodes from now. And we'll be talking about a show that I'm real excited about. But I don't want to say anything for sure because it's not set in stone. Something that could still... That's 4 weeks away. So something could still happen to prevent that. But I'm just crossing my fingers that that's not the case. So we should be good for the next couple of episodes. Aside from that, we will be getting our new logo very soon. Probably it will be up before not this episode, before the next episode is posted.
Yeah. The art is all done.
Everything's done. We're waiting. We're still trying to decide between some of the lettering.
Yeah.
So we got a few options. We're just trying to decide between those. But we already have the options. I think we basically just have to pick one now and use it and get a high-res version of it to use.
Yeah.
So pretty much done there. Other than that... Oh, I have a couple other ideas brewing as far as Weeb Hour episodes. I'm pretty excited for. There was the one that Pat and I talked about doing subs versus dubs episode where we watch a few episodes from different shows that we're familiar with, subbed and dubbed, and also shows that friends have recommended, like, oh, watch the dub of this. It's hilarious. We're going to be doing that at some point. Really excited about that.
While on the topic of that, I would like to add Soul Eater to your list of considerations for that because I started Soul Eater on the dub.
Yeah.
And I switched to the sub halfway through, and I was equally happy with both.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure out what the roster is going to be for that. If anybody listening wants to recommend something to us, we're still open to suggestions. This is probably not going to be for a little while, so we're going to be doing that. I will probably be having a bonus Weeb Hour episode that is interviewing the guest that I'll have on in a couple episodes. I am interested.
That's going to be such a funny interview.
I'm looking forward to it. They're going to be... I really hope they're able to come on because they're going to be a really interesting guest if that's the case. So that's going to be happening. And then I had one other idea for Weeb Hour, but I think I want to wait until there's a few shows that I think I want to do before I do that. I think it was going to be an episode on different character archetypes and how they come across in different shows. So, like, you know, how a Paragon character would be represented in one show versus another, or how a mentor would be in one show versus another. What makes a good Paragon? What makes a bad Paragon? What are examples? There's a few other shows that I want to make sure we get reviewed before I do that, because a lot of the examples I'm going to want to talk about are from a series we haven't done yet. So...
A number of series
we haven't done.
That we have
done. Aside from that, I think that's all the housekeeping that needs to be done.
Speaking of shows that would be mentioned on that list, you realize to be a completist, you have to review the original Fate Stay Night animation, right?
I know. I will do that. I just have to find somebody who's willing to watch it with me.
Yeah, right?
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't done a lot of things that I want to do, is I need to find people who are willing to do them. That's why I'm so excited for a couple episodes from now, because I've been looking for somebody to review that series with, I will tell you what series it is after we finish recording. I've been looking for somebody to review that with me, but nobody wants to watch it.
And then there's the opposite problem that you and I are having. You don't want to review any of the things I want to watch.
It's because it's all garbage.
No, it isn't. You're just an asshole.
It's okay. Everything I want to review is garbage also. But
I'll hold the rest of my comments until after recording.
well, it sounds like I'm in for an earful. So I will jump eagerly into that. For now, I'm going to let you guys go. Do you have any final words?
No.
Okay.
I'm not talkative enough for that.
Yeah, I noticed. So thank you guys for sticking with us through this episode. We were a little bit, I think we were a little bit more low energy than we usually are, but that's all right. This is not always such a bad thing. So, looking forward to the next few episodes, and just stay safe out there, guys. Everything's fucking wild and crazy right now, and just make sure you guys are staying safe. Whatever you're choosing to do, make sure you're safe.
Wear a fucking mask.
Wear a mask. It's not hard. Just put one
not.
on. And I guess that's really it. So, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. But until then, keep watching that Weeb shit.